Welcome to the Moon in Gemini podcast. I am your witch in residence, April Edwards, and this is a deep dive episode on Mercury retrograde in Pisces. The mind enters the ocean. At 1:48 in the morning Eastern Standard Time on February 26th, Mercury stations retrograde in Pisces. The hour matters. This happens in the dark, in the liminal stretch of night when the rational mind is already softened, when most people are asleep, when the veil between conscious thought and dream logic is thin. A retrograde station is not subtle. Astronomically, Mercury appears to slow almost to stillness before reversing direction. Symbolically, that stillness is saturation. The archetype concentrates. So at 1:48 a.m., the archetype of mind, language, interpretation, and meaning pauses in mutable water, and then it turns inward. Mercury governs how we process information, how we speak, how we interpret reality. Pisces governs what cannot be contained neatly: memory, grief, mysticism, fantasy, transcendence, and surrender. In Pisces, Mercury is in its detriment and fall. It does not function through analysis here. It functions through absorption. Facts blur into feelings, logic blurs into symbolism, memory blurs into myth. This placement does not sharpen the intellect. It sensitizes it. And when that sensitized Mercury stations retrograde, the mind becomes porous. The question shifts from what happened to what did it mean? Mercury retrograde has been sensationalized as technological chaos, but in truth, it is retrieval. A retrograde is a return. Something previously processed too quickly now demands depth. And in Pisces, what returns is rarely a calendar error. It is emotional residue. Old conversations replay, old dreams resurface, old grief finds a crack in the surface. This is psychic backlog clearing. You may realize that you intellectually understood something months ago, but never actually felt it. Now the feeling arrives. At 1:48 a.m. when the station occurs, imagine the tide reversing. The ocean does not panic when it pulls back. It gathers. This transit can feel confusing because Pisces blurs edges. Communication may become indirect. Assumptions may multiply. Tone may be misread. Projection increases underwater. Be mindful of believing what comforts you simply because it comforts you. Be mindful of romanticizing someone who has shown you who they are. But equally, be mindful of dismissing your intuition because it cannot be proven. Discernment under Pisces is not cold logic. It's quiet listening. Ask yourself, is this clarity or is this fantasy? The answer will not shout. It will hum. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It contains all the others in diluted form. It is endings, completion, dissolution. Mercury retrograde here often brings ancestral memory, spiritual longing, unresolved forgiveness. You may reinterpret your past. You may realize that the story you told about a heartbreak was incomplete. You may see where you spiritualized something that required boundaries, or where you hardened against something that required softness. This is not about rewriting facts. It's about rewriting meaning. Pay attention to your body during this retrograde. Fatigue may increase, dreams may intensify, sensitivity to sound, light, and other people's emotions may heighten. The mind is swimming. Give it space. Do not force decisions that require clarity if you can avoid it. Do not assume silence means rejection, and do not assume confusion means failure. Sometimes confusion is simply the dismantling of a false narrative. This transit can be quite creative. Mercury in Pisces speaks poetry without trying. It understands music instinctively and communicates through image and sensation. Old creative projects may return, unfinished writing may feel alive again. Spiritual questions you shelved may demand engagement. But here's the caution. Not every resurfacing is meant to be resurrected. Some things return only so that you can release them consciously. Discern which is which. On a collective level, expect misinformation to swell. Stories may blur, truth may feel slippery, emotional rhetoric may outweigh factual clarity. This is not the time to react impulsively to headlines. It's time to verify gently, to pause before amplifying, to sit with ambiguity without rushing to resolve it. The collective mind is underwater, and underwater sound travels differently. For those of us who are the witches of the world, this is not a productivity transit. This is a permeability transit. You may feel thinner at the edges, more empathetic, more tired, more receptive. Guard your energy without armoring your heart. Notice reoccurring symbols in dreams. Notice patterns of déjà vu. Notice which memories feel charged. Mercury retrograde in Pisces is less about external correction and more about internal reconciliation. Where have you been avoiding a truth because it felt too tender? Where have you confused transcendence with escape? Where have you numbed instead of grieving? This retrograde invites you to metabolize what was postponed. Every retrograde plants a seed for the next direct phase. When Mercury turns direct again, clarity will not arrive as a lightning strike. It will arrive as sediment settling. You will know something differently. Not because new information appeared, but because you felt the old information fully. This is maturation of meaning. While most of the world sleeps, the mind turns back into water. This is not a crisis, it's a return to unfinished feeling. If something resurfaces, do not immediately analyze it, sit with it. If a memory arrives, do not rush to fix it. Listen. The ocean is not disorganized, it is cyclical. Mercury retrograde in Pisces is not here to confuse you. It is here to soften you enough to hear that you have been overwriting. And sometimes that softness is the real clarity. This work grows through word of mouth. If it's been meaningful to you, you can like, share, or subscribe. That's how it reaches the ones who need it.